Good morning, Maestro.
Good morning, good morning.
First, I want to congratulate you on coming here again and conducting here again and seeing you conducting in full power. It is a great pleasure and honor for us.
See, seeing me feel completely at home, like I never left. I can't believe that I was away for 3 years.
3 years, huh?
No, because basically my rapport, my connection with this orchestra, that I stand today. Yesterday we played in Haifa, tonight we are here, different programs. They are so flexible, and it's just a joy for me, really a joy. And I see in all they know that I look at each one of them all the time. I don't know why it is my obsession.
Did they change during these last 3 years? You know, when you come home, you see changes after a long period.
Well, the standard has been kept up, thank God, by my wonderful successor, Lahav Shani, who has worked beautifully with the orchestra. And I have only pleasure from the first moment.
And I would like to say that we are very happy to see you in good health. It has been a...
Yeah, I'm fine.
Because we were worried, but we are happy to see you here and in full power. How did the years of Corona meet you? How did you engage?
Well, I was mostly in Los Angeles, in my home, and my other home in Florence. And we started already playing concerts last June in Italy for small audiences. And then recently I was in Milan at La Scala, completely full house, just like here. And the entire public with masks. It's not very natural, but it will change. I believe from today things are changing in Israel also.
We do hope so. We do hope so. You know, this world, not this region, is going through some historic and dramatic and somber days these days. Does experience of life and having seen such events in the past help one to cope more optimistically?
I hope we musicians bring some sort of a change, of some sort of positive thinking on both sides. You know, a few years ago, I took my other orchestra from Munich, from the opera, to Kashmir, to my country, because it was my hope one day to have Hindus and Muslims sit together and listen to music. And through a lot of opposition in Kashmir itself, we succeeded in doing one concert in Srinagar, the capital of Kashmir, with 2,000 people who came free of charge, and the German embassy helped, etc., and some rich Indian friends of mine helped also. But for the first time, I looked out into a public where Hindus and Muslims sat together, and we played for them Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. And you cannot imagine the opposition of certain people in Kashmir, where they made them close all the shops on that day in objection to this concert. But we did the concert. But it didn't really help in the end, because there were massacres in 2 weeks amongst them. The whole political thing was started in the wrong phase in Kashmir, and they are still suffering from it. Since 1947, it's almost the same year as your country, almost the same.
You love listening. I think you
I've
prefer
always
it.
listened.
I
I
think you
grew
prefer
up-
to talking.
No, I grew up in a musician's home. I listened since I was born. I had no choice.
And can you trace back the roots of feeling the obligation to be involved, to do things, not only music? Can you trace it back in your biography?
Well, I've learned from experience not to underestimate the power of music. We see that on every tour that we have made. You know, I am told that I've given more than 4,000 concerts with the Israel Philharmonic, but a lot of them were abroad. A lot of them were in places where, you know, Israel is not the favorite cup of tea all over the world. But we go to countries which are politically not in complete accord with us, and yet the orchestra enjoys standing ovations from people who come to the concert and through their interpretation convince at least the 2,000 people in that evening that there is way to get together and to live and to listen together. And you cannot underestimate that at all.
You mentioned the great ex-mayor of Tel Aviv, Chich Shlomo Lahat, and it reminded me of another great ex-mayor, Teddy Kollek, in Jerusalem. Recently you received an honor in his name, and I saw you speaking in this event in tears, remembering your old friend, and telling a story that I would humbly ask you to tell again about your meeting with Teddy Kollek in the 6 Days War in Jerusalem. You remember that?
Of course, yes. I went to Teddy's office. I think it was the 3rd or 4th day of the war. And Ben Gurion was sitting there. And I knew Ben Gurion quite well because he lectured to me, but sometimes when we were after concerts, he knew more about my religion than I did. He was really a scholar of Oriental religions. And we were speaking about what's going on in Jerusalem. And suddenly there was a messenger came that the Wailing Wall was in Israeli hands. And Ben Gurion stood up instinctively and said, "This we will never give up." And this was a moment, historical moment, I cannot forget. And Teddy, in his Viennese dialect that we spoke together, told me, he says, "Remember these words. Remember what this man has just said." And yet, overnight, he became a mayor of 2 cities. And he was popular on both sides. And he convinced the mayor of Bethlehem that I would go with the orchestra and play the Requiem of Verdi at Bethlehem, at Manger Square.
A great work, but not too optimistic, I would say.
Well, we had the singers. Richard Tucker was there, some wonderful American singers too. And Teddy said, before I went on stage that evening, he said, "Listen, there's a new organization called Fatah that is against Israel, and they might do something this evening. So if you hear any shots, don't run away." He said, because you as a conductor, if you run, the whole public will panic. So I started conducting Verdi's Requiem, thinking that somebody is aiming at my head. But nothing happened. Nothing happened.
Fortunately.
And that mayor of Bethlehem became a good friend. And we went later, a year later, and played Mahler's Second Symphony. Gil Shacham played as a soloist, etc. So we did some things to bring people together. And they did come together on Manger Square in Bethlehem.
Maestro, I don't want to take too much of your time. I know that you have a full schedule tonight here in Tel Aviv, right?
No, this is every night.
What are you playing tonight? What are you conducting tonight?
Tonight is Beethoven's 6th Symphony and Dvorak's 7th Symphony.
Wow.
Here.
Thank you again, Maestro Mehta, for being here with us today. and for being who you are. Thank you very
It's
much.
my pleasure. It's my pleasure.